Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something super relevant for all you ambitious Kenyans out there,
Hmm.
especially those looking to make waves in the business world. We're talking about the latest updates to Kenyan business law,
Okay.
specifically the Business Laws Amendment Bill 2024.
Right.
Now, I know legal jargon can be a bit of a headache,
Sure.
so we're here to break it down and figure out what these changes really mean for you, your startups, and your investments.
That's a great way to put it. This bill has a lot of moving parts, but at its core,
Right.
it's all about creating a more attractive and efficient environment for businesses to thrive in Kenya.
All right, so let's jump right in. One of the things that caught my eye was this new concept of accredited facilitators for foreign investors. It sounds like the government is really trying to roll out the red carpet for foreign investment.
Absolutely. And it's not just about making things easier for foreign investors. It's also about ensuring that those investments are actually beneficial for Kenya as a whole. You see, bringing in foreign capital is one thing, but making sure it contributes to job creation, technology transfer,
Wow.
and overall economic growth, that's the real goal.
So it's not just about opening the doors wide open. It's about making sure the right kind of investment walks through those doors.
Exactly. That's where these accredited facilitators come in. They're like specialized guides
Yeah.
who can help foreign investors navigate the Kenyan business landscape, understand the regulations, and connect with the right opportunities.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's get practical here.
Sure.
Can you give us a concrete example of how this could benefit, say, a young Kenyan entrepreneur with a tech startup?
Sure. Imagine a young Kenyan developer who's created a brilliant app for mobile banking, but needs funding to scale it up. Now, imagine a foreign investor with experience in fintech who's looking to invest in promising African startups. An accredited facilitator could connect these two, helping the investor understand the Kenyan market and the developer navigate the legal and regulatory aspect
Yeah.
of securing foreign investment. It's a win-win situation.
I see. So it's about fostering those connections and creating partnerships that benefit both sides.
Precisely. And it's not just about facilitating individual deals.
Okay.
It's about building a stronger ecosystem for foreign investment in Kenya.
Speaking of building a stronger ecosystem,
Yeah.
the bill also mentions making some changes to the process
Mhm.
of registering foreign direct investments. What's the story there?
Right. So previously, foreign investors could obtain an investment certificate, which is like a stamp of approval for their project. This bill shifts the focus to mandatory registration for all foreign direct investments.
Okay.
It's about creating a more transparent and regulated system.
Oh, hold on. Didn't you mention earlier that the government wants to make sure these investments are beneficial to Kenya?
That's a great question. It's not just about registering any investment that comes along. It's about ensuring that those investments align with Kenya's development goals. The bill specifically mentions criteria like job creation, skills transfer to Kenyans, technology advancement, and revenue generation for the government.
So it's like a filter, making sure that the investments coming in are actually contributing to the country's progress.
Exactly. And to make this whole process smoother, the bill proposes setting up a centralized facility. Think of it as a one-stop shop for investors. It would handle everything
Okay.
from business registration and tax administration to permits, licensing, and even utility connection.
Wow, that sounds like a massive undertaking, but also incredibly helpful, especially for young entrepreneurs
Yeah.
who are already juggling so much.
It's all about cutting through the red tape and making it easier to do business in Kenya. Imagine, instead of running from one government agency to another, you could go to the centralized facility and take care of everything in one place.
Right.
That's efficiency.
And time saved means more time to focus on building your business. Speaking of focusing on business, there's one change that I think will be particularly interesting for our listeners in the tech sector.
Yeah.
The recognition of remote work in the Employment Act. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It reflects the changing nature of work, especially in the tech industry. The bill not only recognizes remote work,
Okay.
but also outlines obligations for employers
Yes.
to provide the necessary tools and resources for their remote workers.
So it's not just about acknowledging that remote work exists. It's about setting standards and ensuring that remote workers are treated fairly.
Absolutely. Whether it's providing a laptop software
Right.
or ensuring a safe and ergonomic workspace, the employer has a responsibility to make sure their remote employees are equipped to succeed. And this could be a game changer for attracting international companies and remote job opportunities to Kenya.
It's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities for Kenyan youth,
Yeah.
allowing them to tap into global job markets right from their homes.
Exactly. And that could lead to a brain gain instead of a brain drain, with talented Kenyans staying in the country and contributing to its growth.
Now let's talk about something that's been a hot topic in Kenya, affordable housing. The bill also proposes some amendments to the Affordable Housing Act, right?
Yes. There are a few key changes aimed at speeding up the development of affordable housing. One of the most notable is the expedited timeline for land transactions related to affordable housing projects.
Okay.
It's being reduced from 90 days to 45 days.
So they're trying to cut down on bureaucratic delays
Yeah,
and get those projects moving faster?
exactly.
Makes sense.
Time is money, as they say. And by streamlining these land transactions, the bill seeks to reduce delays and costs associated with affordable housing projects.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Affordable housing can be a bit of a loaded term.
That's a good point.
How does the bill define it?
The bill provides a new, more holistic definition of affordable housing scheme. It now encompasses not just the construction of units, but also the land acquisition, layout, subdivision, and development. It's a more comprehensive approach.
So it's not just about putting up buildings. It's about creating entire communities that are accessible and affordable for Kenyans.
That's the idea. The bill also clarifies the meaning of administration fee in the context of affordable housing, specifically referring to payments made for Sharia-compliant financing facilities.
Okay, so they're trying to be as inclusive as possible, recognizing the diverse financial needs and preferences of Kenyans. Now, before we move on to the Anti-Counterfeiting Act, I want to touch on something that's crucial for any government revenue collection. What's changed there?
Well, one significant change is the emphasis on ensuring that foreign investments contribute to tax revenues or other government revenues. This is specifically mentioned in the amendment to the Investment Promotion Act.
So it's not just about attracting investment. It's about making sure that those investments translate into actual financial benefits for the country.
Precisely. More tax revenue means more resources for our public services, infrastructure development, and other initiatives that benefit Kenyans. It's about creating a virtuous cycle. Attract investments that generate revenue, use that revenue for development, and ultimately create a more attractive environment for further investment.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about a topic that's probably on the minds of many business owners, the Anti-Counterfeiting Act.
Yes. Let's dive into those amendments.
From what I understand, the bill expands the definition of counterfeiting and introduces a new focus on disposal. What does that mean in practical terms for businesses operating in Kenya?
It means stricter enforcement and greater accountability. The broadened definition of counterfeiting now includes activities like repackaging and relabeling, even if done outside of Kenya. Essentially, it closes loopholes that existed before. And the emphasis on disposal signifies that the government is serious about getting those counterfeit goods off the market.
So it's not just about catching the counterfeiters, it's about ensuring that the seized goods are dealt with properly,
Exactly.
considering environmental factors and the country's capacity for disposal.
And for businesses, it means being extra vigilant about their supply chains and ensuring they're not inadvertently dealing with counterfeit products. The penalties for dealing in counterfeit goods have also been increased, demonstrating the seriousness of this issue.
It seems like the message is clear. Counterfeiting will not be tolerated. It's about protecting intellectual property rights, safeguarding consumers, and maintaining the integrity of Kenyan businesses.
Absolutely. And it's about fostering a culture of respect for intellectual property
Yeah.
and recognizing that counterfeiting ultimately harms everyone involved.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much to unpack. Let's take a quick break and then come back to discuss the aspects of the bill related to ethics, anti-corruption, and those mysterious statutory instruments. See you in a few minutes.
Welcome back, everyone.
Now, before the break, we were discussing the government's efforts to attract foreign investment and promote ethical business practices. Let's delve a bit deeper into the ethical considerations outlined in the bill.
Yes, because building a thriving business environment isn't just about financial regulations. It's also about establishing a culture of integrity and accountability.
Okay, so what's the bill saying
Yeah.
about ethics and anti-corruption?
Well, it's important to note that this bill isn't introducing a whole new set of laws around ethics and anti-corruption. Instead, it focuses on strengthening existing frameworks and enforcement mechanisms.
So it's more about fine-tuning the system and making sure it's working effectively.
Exactly.
Are there any specific areas where the bill is strengthening enforcement?
Yes, there's a greater emphasis on due diligence
Mhm.
and vetting processes, particularly for individuals holding key positions in both the public and private sectors.
So making sure that those in positions of power meet the highest ethical standards, that's crucial for building trust and confidence in Kenya's institutions.
Absolutely. It's about ensuring that leadership is not only competent, but also ethical. Additionally, the bill strengthens whistleblower protections,
Yeah.
encouraging people to come forward with information about corruption or unethical behavior without fear of reprisal.
That's incredibly important. Creating a safe space for whistleblowers is essential for fostering a culture of transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
People need to know that they can speak up without fear of losing their jobs
Right.
or facing other negative consequences.
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting whistleblowers, it's also about promoting greater collaboration and information sharing between different government agencies. This joined-up approach can help connect the dots and make it much more difficult for corrupt practices to go unnoticed.
So it's like a multi-pronged attack on corruption: prevention, detection, enforcement, and protection for those who speak up.
That's a great way to put it. It's about creating a system where ethical conduct is not just encouraged, but also effectively enforced.
And ultimately,
yeah.
it's not just about complying with laws and regulations. It's about shaping the very fabric of Kenya's business environment. It's about creating a landscape where integrity and transparency are valued and rewarded.
Absolutely. It's about attracting not just any investment, but the right kind of investment from businesses and individuals committed to operating ethically and contributing positively to Kenya's development.
I like that, attracting the right kind of investment. It's about building a business environment that is not only profitable, but also sustainable and ethical.
Precisely. And to ensure that these changes are implemented smoothly and effectively, the bill relies heavily on something called statutory instruments.
Statutory instruments. That sounds a bit technical. Can you break that down?
Of course. For our listeners who might not be familiar with the term, in simple terms, statutory instruments are rules or regulations made by government ministers or other authorized bodies that have the force of law. They provide the practical details needed to put the broader provisions of an act of parliament into effect.
So think of it like this. The act sets the overall framework, the big picture,
Exactly.
and the statutory instruments fill in the specific details, the nitty-gritty of how things will actually work in practice.
In the context of this bill, statutory instruments will be crucial for outlining things, like the accreditation process for those foreign investor facilitators we talked about earlier, the criteria for evaluating whether an investment is beneficial to Kenya, the specific services offered at that centralized facility, and much more.
It's about translating the broad principles of the bill into actionable rules and procedures, making it clear for everyone how these changes will actually be implemented and enforced.
Precisely. Statutory instruments ensure consistency and clarity in the application of the law. They also provide a mechanism for making adjustments and updates as needed without having to go through the lengthy process of amending the primary act.
So it's a way to make sure the law remains relevant and adaptable to changing circumstances.
You got it. They are essential for making the legal framework dynamic and responsive to evolving needs.
Okay, so for our listeners who want to really get into the nitty-gritty, where can they find these statutory instruments?
They're typically published in the Kenya Gazette, which is the official government publication for legal notices, regulations, and other important announcements. You can access it online or through various legal databases.
Right, and it's worth emphasizing that statutory instruments carry the same legal weight as the act itself. So for businesses and investors, keeping up to date with them is crucial for ensuring compliance and understanding how these new business laws will impact their operations.
Absolutely. It's all about staying informed
Yeah.
and adapting to the evolving legal landscape.
Well, it seems like we've covered a lot of ground today, from attracting foreign investment to promoting ethical business practices. But before we wrap things up, I'd love to hear your overall take on this bill. What's the big picture message here?
The big picture message is that Kenya is serious about creating a dynamic and competitive business environment that is attractive to both local and foreign investors. This bill lays the groundwork for a more transparent, accountable, and globally connected Kenyan business landscape.
It sounds like a real game changer, especially for young Kenyan entrepreneurs who are just starting out. Like the government is saying, we're here to support you, to make things easier for you, and to create an environment where you can thrive.
That's a great way to put it. It's about empowering the next generation of Kenyan business leaders and creating a future where Kenya is a global hub for innovation and entrepreneurship.
Now, before we let you go, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Sure.
The impact of these changes on young Kenyans,
Yeah.
particularly those who are interested in the tech sector. What advice would you give them?
My advice would be to embrace these changes, to see them as opportunities, not just obligations. This bill opens up new avenues for collaboration, investment, and growth. The recognition of remote work, for instance, creates a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay.
You can now access global job markets, work for international companies, and build your skills and experience without having to leave Kenya.
So it's about thinking globally,
Yeah.
but acting locally.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And don't be afraid to leverage the resources that are available to you. Those accredited facilitators, for example, are there to help you navigate the complexities
Yeah.
of foreign investment. Reach out to them, ask
Yeah.
questions, and build those connections.
It's all about being proactive and seizing the opportunities that are presented to
Well,
you.
precisely. And remember, this is just the beginning. As these changes are implemented and statutory instruments are put in place, there will be even more opportunities for growth and innovation. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay ambitious.
That's fantastic advice. It's inspiring to see how Kenya is creating a more dynamic and supportive business environment. So to all our listeners out there, whether you're a seasoned investor or a young entrepreneur with a brilliant idea, take note, do your research, and get ready to ride this wave of change.
I couldn't have said it better myself. The future of Kenyan business is bright, and I'm excited to see what you all will achieve.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the Business Laws Amendment Bill 2024. We hope you found this insightful and empowering. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding these changes is the first step towards making the most of them. Until next time.